How you doing, everybody? This is Ken Bikoff, Mike Pegram, Jeff Rabjohns, and the Hoosiers lose to Maryland in the Big Ten tournament, so they're sent home, and now they have to wait to see where their fate lies for Selection Sunday. Mike, we'll start with you. Just what did Indiana show during the Big Ten tournament that you think could really help them with the committee?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they were much more competitive. They took the number 8 team in the country down to the wire, never trailed by double digits, hung in there the whole time, and had an easy win over a Northwestern team that had beaten them a couple weeks ago in one of their bad losses. They kind of, got that back in their favor. So I think they've put themselves into the tournament. I'm not one of those guys that sits down in my spreadsheet and figures out who may be in and who may be out. But I think that they showed some good things this weekend, enough to get them among the at-larges.
I've said, Jeff, that part of this is just passing that look test. And Indiana going into this tournament didn't have the look test of an NCAA tournament team. Now I think they do.
Yeah, I certainly think so. I mean, they actually played really good defense against Northwestern. I think it was the best defense they played all year. I'm not too sure if it's not the best defense, at least that was stretched in the first half, that they played for a couple years against somebody who could actually score. And this Northwestern team can, with Ola and Trey Demps and all those guys. So I think they showed they can play defense. And like Mike said, they took the number 8 team in the country really down to the wire tonight. So that's certainly a positive thing. Those two things, playing against Maryland will help the strength of schedule. Indiana already has 3 wins over RPI top 25 teams. That matches the most in the Big Ten coming into the quarterfinals. So the resume looks really good, and I think these last 2 days solidified the fact that they can play good basketball. Even though they lost against Maryland, they played well.
Another positive for the Hoosiers is that without Hunter Mascara-Pere in the lineup, freshman Emergence Holt stepped up and played a huge role. Certainly his teammates were happy with the way that he had to play against Maryland. Here's what they had to say in the postgame.
Emmett's had that in him all year. He really turned it up these past few days, and we needed him to, especially with Hunter out today. But it's something we haven't seen out of Emmett. We've seen that, day in, day out from him in practice, and it just was time for him to step up and show it on the big stage.
Emmett definitely came a long way. I feel like he's definitely progressed into a player that has a lot of experience under his belt. I'm in him every day to go out there and get every rebound, and he knows it because I'm going to get on him about it. When he has that mindset that he's going to get every rebound, I feel like nobody can stop him. He's got a 7'1" wingspan. He's using those long arms, just using his long arms to his advantage.
Mike, at least for the short term, how important is Emmett right now, and can he be the answer for IU inside?
Emmett has terrific instincts inside. He pump fakes. He does things to free himself against guys that are 4 to 6 inches taller, and he did against Alex Ola on Thursday night, and he did against his big front line that Maryland can throw out there. 12 rebounds in 25 minutes. That is just really good stuff. I think half of them were on the offensive glass, so he's really come into his own. He's really not a freshman anymore. This is 30-some games, and he's ready for any kind of level, and he's a pretty experienced guy coming in with all the AAU level play he had. So, with Hunter, a day-to-day situation, he may be able to play some, but I think they're in a little bit better shape of the Emmett today versus the Emmett maybe a month or two ago.
And Jeff, at this point, Emmett seems to take on an even bigger role, because I know Collins coming back still with the knee. He's not quite at 100%, says he's close, but Emmett's also more athletic. Emmett's also a guy that seems to gain confidence with each passing game. Your thoughts on just his play against Maryland?
Well, I really think what we're seeing is, he's gotten the confidence to do what he's capable of doing against major college basketball players. Some of the things he's actually doing kind of remind me of the way he played this past July in AAU, when he actually averaged more blocks than fouls per game, which not a lot of guys do, especially in AAU play. So Mike mentioned instincts, and I think that's a really key thing with Emergence Holt, because he understands when to go for the block, when to play actual position defense. He's very good at rebounding, understanding when to block out and go versus when to kind of cut through somebody's body. He's really got really good instincts for an interior player, and I think his post defense for somebody who is his height is very, very good. So I think we're seeing the confidence, and I also think we're seeing some technique things with the feet have gotten a little bit crisper. We see him fighting guys for position a little bit better. I think he can be a really helpful player for Indiana this postseason. I don't think we're to the point we're talking about next year for Emmett Holt. I think we're talking about right now, March of his freshman year.
I think he made the biggest play of the game defensively. I think they were down 7, and I think Melo Trimble had a wide open layup, and he blocked it, and Indiana was able to get back into the game. They stayed within touch, and I think a big block from Troy Williams after that too. But 3 blocks from Emmett was really key in keeping Indiana in the game.
All right, Indiana closes out the regular season in the Big Ten tournament with the 20-13 record. Of course, 9-9 during the regular season against the Big Ten, 1-1 here in the Big Ten tournament, so 10-10 against Big Ten opponents. But they also close out the season with winning 5 of their last 14 games. 3 of those wins came over Rutgers and Northwestern, and the other 2 against Minnesota and Michigan, 2 teams that are unlikely to make the NCAA tournament. My question to you guys is, do you think they're going to get in?
Yeah, I think so. They're above the cut line in the vast majority of the bracketology selections by the people that usually are pretty accurate. The problem is they look to be headed to the Dayton play-in game, which is an extra task that's been added the last few years, and it'll make it even tougher. If they do advance past that, they'll be on short rest and traveling a little extra. For a team that doesn't have a lot of depth, that could be an issue.
Yeah, I think it's possible that they certainly could end up in Dayton. And you mentioned some of the things that would raise concerns coming down the stretch. The losses obviously are the first thing you look at. Wins over teams that aren't going to be in the tournament or have clear losing records. You look at that and say, are they an NCAA tournament team? A couple of things to keep in mind. One, under the new criteria, the whole season counts. A win in November is no different than a win in March anymore, even though people may have a different feeling about how a team was playing then versus now. So that's part of it. And the other thing is, they have more good wins than some of the other teams that you look at and say, okay, let's compare, let's go blind resume. They look better on paper than maybe some fans feel like the team that they've watched over the past few weeks. So yeah, I think they're probably going to be in, but I think the play-in game certainly a real possibility.
The Hoosiers are a young team, a lot of freshmen playing big roles, sophomores playing even bigger roles than they have over the past couple of years, and now they might have to grind it out a little bit longer as long as they get in the play-in game. But it comes down to this fact, guys. Once they're in, then it's you control your own destiny from there. So the Hoosiers have done all that they can, I think, to make their case.
Yeah, and with the shooters that they have and being guard-oriented team, that often works in the NCAA tournament. You just get a couple hot hands, and they can carry you. You've seen teams, 3 guards just carry a team to at least the Sweet 16, if not farther.
Yeah, I think the NCAA tournament, for the most part, is a guards event. We've seen that for years. Even UConn winning the title, it was more guard driven than anything. We've seen a lot of teams make runs because of guards, and so for the most part, most years the NCAA tournament is a guards event. And I think the other thing that comes into play is a lot of these teams, the Big Ten teams, they scout each other so unbelievably well. They're watching so much film. Once conference play starts, they've watched every minute that the other Big Ten teams have played. They know each other so well. So you take a team like Indiana, which yes has defensive deficiencies outside of some of what we saw against Northwestern, but they can shoot the ball so well, and they put out kind of these non-traditional lineups. If you haven't played that before, if you haven't scouted that before, if you only all of a sudden now you see on Sunday evening, hey, here's what we got to play, and you got to play that on Tuesday in a playing game, or even if you got to play that on Thursday, that can be kind of tough. I mean, Indiana does have the shooters to pull an upset that would surprise people in the NCAA tournament. I'm not predicting it's going to happen, but I'm not going to fall out of my chair if it does either.
Well, the games are over, and now everybody's just going to have to wait, and that includes Mike Pegram and Jeff Rabjohns and myself, Ken Bikoff. We'll keep you posted on what happens. Head on over to Peegs.com for all the coverage, not only the Big Ten tournament, but for any kind of postseason action that the Hoosiers might have going forward. So for Mike, for Jeff, I'm Ken. Thanks for watching.